I would like to talk about parents. I know this podcast was developed for parents, but recently I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues about what is a parent. And I think it would be really worth spending some time defining parenting and who parents are. Now, in a previous episode, we talked about the role that parents have and why parenting is important. But parenting isn't a specific person. It's a role that people take on. So who is a parent? Well, the obvious choices, mom and dad. But there are so many other people who are involved in the parenting process for our children and for many children. A parent is an adult placed in the role of providing care for children at home. Now, there are similar roles in daycare and school, even coaching. A big difference is that these other roles involve payment and some training. And I know that for all of you as parents, you can appreciate that if you were being paid to do the parenting work, you might think, I'm not getting paid enough. But it's really something that we all do as parents because it's a commitment we made at the beginning of our parenting journey. So that's one of the differences, but it's an adult placed in the role of providing care for children at home. Well, who does that include? In my experience, it could be a grandparent who's raising their grandchildren. Many grandparents are in that role of having to raise the next generation, having raised their own children for a variety of reasons. It's possible that their own children are unable to, or there's some conflict going on with their work schedule or other circumstances, and grandparents often step into that gap. But they're not the only ones. Aunts and uncles, great aunts and uncles, have oftentimes been pulled up to fill in that gap to help with parenting young children and their families. A step-parent or a girlfriend or boyfriend to one of the parents who helps with pickup and drop-off and homework and preparing meals and making sure the children are okay. That they are taking on the role of being a parent. The foster parent who's opened their home to help other families who are struggling is taking on that really important function of parenting children. Remember, we've talked about parenting as guiding, protecting, and advocating for our children. An adult sister or brother who is guiding a younger sibling because the parent can no longer or is unable to fill that function of parenting. So there are many adults who take on the role of being in that parenting capacity. And I want to make sure that this is not just an exclusive parents only, but this covers a lot of adults who are involved in the role of parenting. And you may ask, why is it important to be so expansive with the definition of parents and who is a parent? Well, because families come in all shapes and sizes, from single parents and only parents to two household families with multiple sets of parents. And I think one way to consider this is going back to the question, what do children need? Well, we know that they need two big things. They need consistency that allows them to anticipate and predict and to know that they're going to be safe and to kind of have some sense of stability. And they also need nurturing to feel valued and worthwhile from their caregivers. Those are two really critical ingredients that they need across their life. One final reason, it takes a village to raise a child. You've heard this before, maybe you've heard it too often, but I think it really bears repeating and taking to heart. It's a proverb that's been attributed to several African cultures, and yet it seems universal in its appeal and significance today. As our children grow and the world expands, they spend more time in the community with other friends and their parents, with coaches, teachers, relatives, neighbors. It truly does take a village to successfully raise children. Have you ever had the experience of hearing your child relate something that you have said for weeks or months, something that you might have been nagging them about, but they didn't seem to hear it until they finally had that same quote, that same statement, that same whatever it was you were harping on? They hear it from another adult, and they act as if they're hearing it for the first time because now they believe it. I've had that experience. I can recall times when my children would come home after being at a friend's house and they would say, you know what so-and-so's dad said? And they would lay out something that I had been talking about for maybe months. And on the one hand, it can be a little bit annoying that it's like, well, why didn't you hear that from me? But sometimes our relationships with our children are too close, and we may not have that credibility at that moment. I mean, you've heard the saying that an expert has to come from 60 miles away in order to be believed. And I think that that's somewhat true in families at times. It's humbling, but it's also encouraging when we hear that there are other adults who are saying some of the same things that we value. So ask yourself, who's in your child's village? Take a moment to consider all of the adults in your life, in your child's life, who play a part, whether it's great or small, in parenting your child. Maybe take some time and make a list. Ask yourself, how consistent is their approach to parenting with your own approach? Are there things you admire about their approach to parenting? Are there things that you could share with them about your own approach that may help them? Remember, if everyone is singing from the same songbook, the music sounds much better. And it really helps children learn when they get clear and consistent messages. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this parenting topic. I hope that this information added to your growing toolbox of parenting your child or children. Please consider exploring other topics in this series. Remember, no one parenting tool can do everything. We need many tools to become the best parents for our children. Your children's future depends on you and the time and effort you invest in them today.